Welcome, my darling, to the shadowy side of the screen, where we not only flirt with danger, but dance cheek to cheek with it. I'm your delightful host, the voice of sin and seduction in this dark documentary of deception and some justified devilry. Ready to slide into the gray areas of good and bad with me? Now, let's be honest. Who among us truly roots for the hero every time? Yawn. So predictable, aren't they? Heroes always saving the day, barely breaking a sweat as they do it. But what about the villains? Now, that's where the real intrigue lies. It's easy to dismiss them as just another pretty face with a wicked laugh. But sometimes, if you're paying attention, you might find yourself nodding along with their nefarious plans. Today, we're diving deep into the minds of the most mesmerizing malefactors, those who weren't just twirling their mustaches in the dark. These are the villains who, believe it or not, kinda had a point. Ever think about that? No? Well, stick with me, sweetheart, and let's explore those devilish deviants who made us question, are they really that wrong? First up, and hold on to your seats because this one's a biggie. Thanos. Oh, the mad titan himself. Tell me, have you ever had one of those days where everything feels too crowded, too noisy? Thanos sure did. Titan, his home, was a paradise lost to the ravages of unchecked growth, dwindling resources. A real cosmic catastrophe. His solution? A snap to balance it all out. Extreme? Maybe. But can you blame him for trying to prevent his home's history from repeating on a universal scale? Now, before you jump on me for condoning genocide, relax. It's all hypothetical. Remember? Thanos believed in fairness. A cold, indifferent sort of fairness. Rich or poor, no one was safe from his snapping fingers. It's a harsh way to achieve balance, but in a twisted sense, his heart was in the right place. Don't mistake me, I'm not saying he should have done it. But can you imagine the sheer will it takes to think, yes, this is the only way? There's something fascinating, almost magnetic, about such conviction. Oh, but the plot thickens, darlings. Thanos' snap wasn't just a one-and-done magic trick. No, the consequences of such power are messy, chaotic. Think about it. Half the universe gone in an instant. Planes falling from the sky, cars without drivers. The aftermath would be a horror show. And sure, fewer mouths to feed sounds great until you realize there are fewer hands to do the feeding. It's a conundrum, isn't it? But our dear Thanos, in his dark wisdom, overlooked a rather simple alternative. Why not double the resources instead of halving the population? Now, that's a thought, a band-aid perhaps, but one that could have given us a few more centuries of cosmic peace. But where's the drama in that, right? Not nearly as thrilling as a universe-wide game of survival. And let's not forget about our Dark Prince's comic book origins. Oh, it gets juicier. Thanos did all this not for some noble cause, but for love. Yes, love. The classic motivator. In the comics, our big bad villain was smitten with none other than the embodiment of death herself. And how do you impress the ultimate goth girlfriend? Not with chocolates or flowers, no. You bring her the souls of half the universe. Talk about grand gestures. Shifting gears to a guy who knows a thing or two about sharp turns, Deadpool. Our favorite anti-hero with a mouth faster than my last date ditching the bill. But I digress. Let's slice into a tale with a bit more bite, shall we? Enter Vlad Dracula Tepes from Castlevania, the vampire of all vampires, and not just because he's got a killer wardrobe. Dracula had a pretty simple life plan. Stay away from humans, their drama, their daylight. But then love had to go and throw a wrench in things, didn't it? He meets Lisa, a human who isn't just another pretty face. She's smart, challenges him, and, get this, wants him to mingle with the humans she adores. Tragic mistake? Absolutely. Because the moment Dracula tries to play nice, what happens? Humanity does what it does best. It betrays. Lisa gets snagged by the church, accused of witchcraft because she's too clever for her own good, and then, poof, up in flames. Dracula's reaction? Well, it's something along the lines of, all y'all gotta go? And who can blame him? Imagine, the only human you've ever cared about is torched, and you're left with nothing but ashes and rage. Dracula didn't see any innocence, not anymore. If this were a love story, it would be the kind where everyone ends up heartbroken, or just plain broken. His purge wasn't just a vendetta, it was a statement. To him, humans were parasites. And let's be real, if someone wiped out your heart, wouldn't you want to hit back twice as hard? His method was brutal, yes. But in a world where humans don't mess up ecosystems and lives, Dracula was top of the food chain making tough calls. Now, hold on to your capes because we're diving into anime territory with Naruto. Ever heard of a villain you just can't hate? Enter Pain. This guy grew up in a war-torn land, saw death and despair before he could even spell ninja. His solution? Unite the world through shared suffering. A little twisted? Maybe. But Pain believed if everyone understood, well, pain, then maybe, just maybe, they'd stop inflicting it on each other. And then there's Madara Uchiha, the villain who wanted to give everyone a break. His plan? Cast an illusion over the entire world. Make everyone live in a dream where they're happy, where there's no war, no suffering. Sounds pretty good, right? But here's the kicker. Nobody wanted it. Why? Because it wasn't real. They'd rather wrestle with reality than live in a perfect dream. It's like choosing between a flawless synthetic diamond and a real one with flaws. People cherish what's real, imperfections and all. But if we're talking about altering reality, let's not skip the grand finale from Persona 5 Royal. Dr. Maruki, our not-so-mad scientist, takes what Madara dreamed about and cranks it up to 11. He changes reality itself. No illusion, no tricks. Traumas, regrets, heartaches, gone. Everyone gets a redo. A life scrubbed clean of pain. And yet, our heroes, the Phantom Thieves, they fight to bring back the pain, the struggles, the mess of being real. Why? Because even in a world where everything is handed to you, the choice to face reality, to own your pain, becomes the most valuable choice of all. It's a paradox, isn't it? We crave happiness, yet we define ourselves by how we survive the suffering. But let's not get too cozy with the status quo. Sure, Maruki's vision in Persona 5 Royal promises a utopia, free from pain and filled with joy. But let's peel this back. What about those who want to take on the world themselves? What about that guy living on the edge, barely clinging to reality? His dreams, his ambitions, don't they matter? Maruki, for all his grand intentions, does tip into that dangerous territory of playing God, bending reality to erase the very essence of human struggle. It's a seductive offer, a pain-free life. But at what cost? Autonomy, darling. It's all about choice. And speaking of choices, let's talk about Black Panthers, Eric Killmonger. Now there's a villain who makes you pause. Abandoned, betrayed, and fueled by a fierce desire to right the wrongs not just of his past, but of a world where inequalities thrive behind closed doors. Wakanda, with all its advancements, sat out global struggles like a spectator at a gladiator match. Killmonger wanted to change that. His methods? Questionable. His motivation? Understandably fiery. Speaking of fiery, let's pivot to Magneto from the X-Men series. A man molded by the very worst of human atrocities, who turns his trauma into a crusade. His is a tale of persecution, power, and the quest for a place where mutants don't have to hide. Magneto doesn't just want peace, he wants retribution. And who can blame him? He challenges us to confront uncomfortable truths about oppression and vengeance. Now brace yourselves as we dive into the wildly imaginative worlds of anime, where villains sometimes make you nod in agreement more than the heroes. Gurren Lagann throws us underground, where survival dictates a harsh truth. Only so many can live before resources run out. It's a brutal management of life, echoing Thanos in grim practicality, but without the cosmic scale. The Beastmen enforcing this limit? They're not just villains, they're custodians of a fragile balance, one that our heroes disrupt without offering a viable alternative. And in the spiraling epic of human ambition, Gurren Lagann challenges us with a cosmic dilemma. The unchecked growth of spiral power could indeed end all existence. The villains? They're just trying to cap humanity's explosive potential to save the universe itself. It's a stark reminder that sometimes the villain isn't just a person or a being. It's our own unchecked ambition. Now, let's loop back to the grungy, yet gripping world of Arcane, where Silco, the so-called villain, fights not out of a lust for power, but a desperate bid for his people's independence from an oppressive regime. His methods are dirty, sure, but his goal? It's something you can't help but empathize with. In the murky waters of moral conflict, Silco emerges as a dark reflection of revolutionary zeal. Lastly, let's not overlook the lighter side of villainy. Dr. Doofenshmirtz, with a backstory so pitiful it's almost laughable, reminds us that not all villains are born from grand tragedy or cosmic fate. Sometimes they're just trying to make sense of a life that started off on the wrong foot. His schemes might be nefarious, but his heart, oh, it's as broken as they come. And so, my wicked darling, as we revel in these tales of chaos and cause, remember, every villain is the hero of their own story. They challenge us to question, to reflect, and perhaps to understand that the line between hero and villain is often written in shades of gray, not stark black and white. Until next time, keep embracing the delicious complexity of our favorite foes. What will we uncover next in our dark waltz through the world of villains? Only time will tell. Hit subscribe and like to find out. Stay sinful, stay sophisticated, and most importantly, stay tuned.